Today is a word of caution. Okay, the bull market is coming for alts. It's so like it cannot be more obvious in my book. Okay, it's just a matter of patience. But unfortunately, a lot of people are going to get wrecked in this bull market. That's always the case, right? And I don't want you to be the wrecked one, really. I've built this community together with you guys. I built this channel to make sure that we can make money in a safe, relative safe way as far that's possible in crypto. And everybody is now waiting for the moment where it's finally gonna pop off. And you will notice that a lot of people will then lose their money. Now, I want to tell you how and how you can prevent that from happening to you. So welcome to the FOMO Factory. Like the video if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on, of course, so you don't miss out on anything. And let me talk about that real quick, what I think the real problem is going to be. So I can give you the best coins, the best this, the best that, in my opinion, right? And of course, that's nice, clickbaitable content. And deeper in the bull, we will probably do that because then that actually works. But for now, maybe it's boring. Maybe it doesn't get me a lot of views. But I do want to mention that if you actually want to walk away with your gains, there's a big obstacle actually right there. And a lot of people are going to walk through that obstacle and be like, bam! And then like you can also, whew, because I saw it coming, right? But how do we see it coming? What's the obstacle? Well, the thing is though that, BTC, I have it in my screen right here, right? Like this is not the problem. It's showing like every other bull market, like, hey, it's just going up, right? If we come out of the bear market, it goes up and it goes above expectations because for some reason, yeah, people still underestimate BTC. They think it won't do well and then it does well, right? So for the next bull, if you feel like, hey, I want to be a little start just with BTC, it's fine. It will do the exact same thing again in the next bull market, probably, right? But the thing is alts, okay? Now, I want to talk about alts in that case, but more specifically on the Bitcoin pair, right? Because if we do look at alts on the dollar pair, right? Is it in a bear market? No. Maybe some alts are, definitely. But on the dollar pair, I don't know. It's definitely not doing as well as BTC. On the other hand, the high cap alt market is up 4x from the cycle lows, right? So that's like not really the problem. The only problem is Bitcoin is running harder and it takes some quality alts with it, but overall the low caps are not doing that. Now, is that because, oh, it's so different? No, it's because it's so the same this time, right? This is what I showed before on the channel, so I won't go over that. But if you look at alts on their BTC pair, goes into a bear market, ranges, sweep the low, bull market, right? Bear market, ranges, sweep the low, bull market. Bear market, ranges, sweep the low, bear market. Bull market, right? That's one of the most obvious expectations, in my opinion, at least. However, the problem is now that people have been getting wrecked with alts on their BTC pair actually already since May 2021, right? We also had December of 2021 and a lot of alts were still outperforming there, but collectively they already started the downtrend right here. So people, they got used to alt season, right? So when you talked about BTC right here, most people were like, oh, but that's boring. You want to be in alts. Like Bitcoin is never going to give you a 5x. No, it did more, right? But also they got so much into the bull market PTSD that, they refuse to believe that alts are most of the time not a good investment. However, now it's been draining for like 4 years. And what did we develop in those 4 years? Yeah, huge bear market PTSD, right? We are used to prices going down. You can't, even the people that joined after this, they don't even know how an alt season feels, right? So it's really hard to imagine that will ever happen. Now, therefore, people are now really bearish. And there's going to be a big problem. And what's the problem? The problem is that alts are going to have a fucking epic run. Like, watch my last 3 videos. I don't see anything that's more likely, actually, right? But the problem is that most people are going to lose right there. Right? And that's just a fact. That's just what happened in this market as well, and in this market as well. Of course, there are people that win a lot, right? That make a lot of money. But that's the thing. There's one winner, and therefore there are 10 losers. Now, the winner is, as far as I know, at least, always the one that goes against the feelings, the sentiment, not thinking that this time is different, that has a lot of patience. Yeah, I don't know. Your neighbor that stepped into crypto yesterday, that he hasn't the experience to apply all of that yet, right? And unfortunately, I think that a lot of people who stepped in crypto anywhere later than here basically don't really have that yet, because you have to go to such a cycle at least to know how it feels like to write it all up and write it all down and to sit it out, and to you can watch it on YouTube, you can hear it in a podcast, you can see it on Twitter, whatever, but the actual experience, you have to just experience it, right? I try to bring it to the right word, so that experience maybe visualize a little bit, but even that won't really 100% work, of course, right? But now, how are people gonna get wrecked? And again, guaranteed, most people. And I hope, therefore, if you watch this video, that this is not gonna be you, really, okay? Let me tell you this, and that's the thing. That's by one, of course, being bearish right now. This is the most ridiculous time to be bearish on alts on their BTC pair. It makes absolute zero sense. You had so much time to be bearish, right? And you are now gonna do that? Like, do you realize then that you're doing it the other way around, right? And that's of course one, the biggest mistake. But two, whenever the market does turn around, you are then not prepared for that. You feel like, oh, but it did turn around. Why did nobody tell me that? Right? Like, and yeah, and then it's stress, then it's panic. Why? Because look how fast this went. This, if right, hypothetically, if you invested $1,000 right here in, 5 high caps and 5 mid caps, you probably had 200K right here, right? Yeah, that goes very fast. That goes very fast, right? But it's not that you had no time to prepare, right? Here, people prepared. Here, people, like, from the moment it goes up, people feel like, oh, it's going up. All right, let me get in. Yeah, and there the opportunity is already out the window. Now, I must say, in all honesty, this video is really inspired by, again, Benjamin Cowan. Because it sounds a little weird what I'm going to say, but he did this cycle such a great job that I think his followers are going to miss out really hard. What do I mean? Let me explain this. And I think it's going to make a lot of sense, right? So he is, bearish on alts on the Bitcoin pair. He called for a certain dominance level for Bitcoin and checked off. Then he said, okay, next level, probably 66%, checked off. Great, right? But he keeps on doing that. He keeps on doing that. He keeps on doing that. And I know, I mean, hey, so far, he's still right. He is still right. Definitely. So I want you to understand that. If I get my YouTube subscription list and I see all these videos and I see one of his, I click on his, right? Because he knows a lot of stuff. But that's also where the problem lays, I think. The problem is the following. He has been saying about this chart. This is the total 3 minus USDT. And what's total 3? That's everything in the top 125, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. Also excluding USDT on their Bitcoin pair. So this is basically every alt, except ETH, in the top 125 on its Bitcoin pair. Including a lot of other stables, actually, as well. So this chart is not really accurate, in my opinion. But okay. And he's saying for a good reason, that this chart is oscillating, right? And that therefore it should at least go to 0.25. He also says, worst case, it's in a downtrend, right? And that's also not that weird if you look at this chart, right? And therefore he also said, like, yeah, it could also be that it therefore goes here. And chart-wise, if you look at this chart, that makes sense. And if you're indoctrinated by that a lot, then I can definitely see why you are bearish on alts BTC, right? Definitely. There is a problem though, and I think that this is where more than 90%, honestly, of the current investors, not even the new retail, but the current investors, is going to make their mistake. So there is a very good chance that it's actually you that I'm talking about. Again, this chart is not this is not altcoins on their Bitcoin pair. Again, this includes USDC. This includes DAI, BUSD, these two new stable coins, USDS, USDE, right? However, we have stables and we have BTC, right? If BTC goes up, then stables stay the same, right? So this chart automatically goes down if Bitcoin just goes up, right? Therefore, I think, like, hey, if we want to talk about alt Bitcoin, okay, cool. Let's take a look at the actual chart, right? And therefore, like, I'm not saying that, look, that's the thing. All credits to Ben. He's a lot more experienced in all this stuff than I am, I think. Therefore, I feel like, dude, look at the right chart in that case, right? This is the total 3 excluding stables on the BTC pair, right? Now, here's the problem. He talked about this chart going down to the range lows, right? To this level right here. And he said, first, it should happen by the end of 2024. Well, that didn't happen, and that's fine, right? Like, it's not about making a call that doesn't work out, right? That's fine, right? Then he said, whenever Bitcoin dominance hits 66%, it should go to the range lows, right? Well, Bitcoin dominance, yeah, and this is not taking the wicks, unfortunately, but it hit 65.5% earlier, close enough, did not bring it to the range lows. Now it hit 66%, did not take it to the range lows. So that's another thing that's now invalid, which is also fine. But he keeps on saying it should go there. But the reasons why it should go there, they are slowly starting to vanish. And then I feel like, okay, is it not maybe a matter of stubbornly trying to be right because you have been so consistent about it? So I can imagine, actually, and just trying to time the bottom. Now, there is a chart that I've been talking about a lot, actually, and that's the Bitcoin dominance risk levels. The risk levels are his indicator. Now, to give you a little information about this, actually, the risk levels are solid, right? If you look at the highest, the 2 highest risk levels right here, right? And that's based on a lot of things, all different indicators, social metrics, and top indicators, etc., whatever, right? If you would have sold your Bitcoin around these 2 highest risk levels, you pretty much sold the top, right? Except for this one, slightly higher price-wise, didn't matter much, right? But you just did like you could not have done it better, basically. If you would have bought during the 2 lowest, awesome. We see right here again, trading the risk levels only is probably the best way to trade this. He also made the risk levels available on the Bitcoin dominance. And I would say, hey, if the risk levels don't apply on the Bitcoin dominance, if they don't have an effect there, if it's not realistic, then he would not have made it, right? Now, if we look at it on the BTC dominance and you look at only the real highest risk level, it is there, right? So if this was Bitcoin, he would be making videos right now that he would be selling hard. He would have already started selling sooner in that case, right? The description also says right here, when risk levels are below 0.5 and get closer to 0, you can choose to increase your buys, and it's the other way around. While the risk bands are increasing, start to consider selling bigger portions, right? Now, you can sell the Bitcoin dominance, but being bearish on the Bitcoin dominance equals being bullish on altcoins on the Bitcoin pair, of course, right? Now, it's above 0.5. Matter of fact, it's at the highest risk level. But still, he basically says, buy, buy, buy. And then I started to think like, okay, why are you not talking about this chart? This is weird. Today, though, I'm in his private Telegram, and today he posted this. He finally started to talk about these risk levels. So I thought, yes, he is now going to tell like, hey, guys, I've been seeing these risk levels right now. Actually, you know, right? What did he say? Let me remove my head right there, because I do think that this is quite weird, actually, to put it like that. He said the Bitcoin dominance risk is 0.937. Considering that altcoins Bitcoin pairs are still off the range lows, this is a decent chance that it goes to 1. And this was the confirmation for me, and this was also making me realize like, oh my God, all these poor people. He is trying to time that up, right? Because he's basically saying like, hey, we are sitting at basically the highest risk level there is, right? The other 2 times we were that high, you know, the last time alt season started, the other time it went into a pretty decent reversal, and the other time there as well was a huge local top. And the other times it was not even that high, right? And yet he now says, actually, that he says like, well, you know what, guys, I have a certain price level, so the risk levels, they don't matter. This is literally the same as the following. This is the same as going to BTC, right? And here, saying, hey, the risk level is sitting at 0.927, but Bitcoin should go to at least 70K. So the risk level is probably going to go to 1. Look, indicators and this risk level is built to help you get a certain target. They are not made to ignore because you have a target based on whatever it now may be, right? But not based on the 2024 seasonality, on the Bitcoin dominance anymore, right? Because that 66% got checked off. I think that this is where it's going to be a problem, actually. Now, I will talk about how people will get wrecked by this. But there I just want to say, like, hey, now he's ignoring his own metric that says get out, because he's like, no, this is my target, so my metric is now also like, I'm going to ignore that. Okay. The problem with this is, right, he has been right more than every other YouTuber combined, basically, this cycle. That's a fact. He has made some wrong calls, of course. Everybody does. That doesn't matter. But the way he's persistent and he has something in mind, and he does not pivot because it takes too long, you know, he proceeds with it and he turns out to be right. It's incredible. So what I think right now is that his community is thinking like, wow, Ben is right about everything. He says, despite all the charts and his own metrics, that alts are going to go lower. So I'm not going to buy yet. Okay. The thing is, though, that he's trying to now time the bottom, right? It goes against his own metrics. He's trying to time that bottom on this thing, right? Which is a chart that's not even showing alts in the first place. Again, it's also stables. The thing is, though, that that guy is rich. His audience probably not, right? At least maybe some people, but overall, I think he is wealthier than his average community member. He can afford to miss out, right? If this chart bounces right here, he's like, oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm in Bitcoin, we'll do fine anyway. What his community, I think, is going to witness is this. If we look again at alts on the Bitcoin pair, what's happening here is this. Literally. He says, don't be in alts. Right? Alts against Bitcoin is. Don't be in alts. He was right. He was right. He was right. Oh, consolidating, consolidating. Ben says, no, still not. Still, you know, no alts. We get this crash. He says, no alts. Look, this is the range, right? This right here. We should go there. We go all the way down there. And people say, you were right. Again, yes, we are almost there. I'm not buying, right? Because the risk metrics should go to the full one, right? And then, bam, missed out. Because you wanted to try to time this little piece of extra room right there. Ouch. And I understand that people then say like, yeah, well, you know, you can always get in when it bounces and it confirms. Look at this, right? I'm not saying it will do this, but what, like last cycle, this people got wrecked. What if it does the same, right? When are you going to get in then? Like, you think it goes here, it bounces. You'll be like, ah, yeah, you know what? That cat bounce. Goes all the way here. You'll be like, ah, yeah, it's now at big resistance. Right? And it goes here. Feel like, oh, well, still resistance. Gets a rejection, you'll be like, ah, you see, it's going down again. And then, bam. And there you are, fully sidelined, buying the top. And then what you do, you write it down again. Because you wanted to time this. Because all your metrics, your own metrics even, were saying, dude, get in alts, right? And you were like, no. Metrics don't matter anymore. It all doesn't matter no more because I have my target and it should go there. That's the danger right now. And the thing is that maybe he's going to be right. That doesn't even matter in my opinion. But if he is, it's going to be for such a fucking wrong reason in my opinion that I feel like, oh. Because what is the risk right here? Right? If you go back here, was it worth it to be bearish on alts right here? Like, I rather buy here, right, and write it down a little bit, you know, if the most likely outcome that it's going to go up way more further, right? Instead of just not buying here because it might go down all the way there, but it might not. Yeah, and again, that's at the moment the danger. And this was very specifically about him, but it applies in general as well. I think that a lot of people, they just feel like, hey, everything is going down, down. I'm not buying, right? I am not buying because it just keeps on getting wrecked, right? And it's good to not buy a falling knife. But if you look at, it's not a falling knife. It's a trend. If you look at, again, at the altcoin market, this is not a falling knife, right? This is a big uptrend. And what do you do during an uptrend? You buy the pullbacks, right? You buy the pullback, you buy the pullback, you buy the pullback. That's not like, if you were in this bear market and you were like, buy here, yeah, that's a falling knife. You don't want to do that. This is not a falling knife, right? And yeah, before you know, again, on the dollar pair, alts looked like this as well in 2020. People capitulated right here. And before you know, we're back up there. And that's the thing. By the time that people want to wait for confirmation, right? Because confirmation, that feels safe. Yeah, but you know what else comes with safety? High prices, right? There's more safety, there's more confirmation, there's even more maybe guarantee, right? That the market is in an uptrend. That's cool, but you pay for that, right? And yeah, it's fine that if you feel like, yeah, but I'm okay with that. Okay, that's cool. But you have to realize that last cycle, if you here, you had finally the confirmation like, hey, we broke out. We are now in an uptrend. Cool. If you wrote that till the exact top, you still made a 7x. That's fine, right? But look at this difference. If you bought somewhere, but let's also take this from you, right? You did a 37x. Yeah, that's a difference worth considering, actually, in my opinion, right? And therefore, I feel like, oh man, it is now really, really dangerous. When it comes to Ben's example, one, people are trying to, his audience is always in that group also asking, what are you buying? When are you doing this? What they want to do what he does. And they shouldn't, but people do that anyway. But what he does is trying to time a certain bottom or top despite every indicator and being okay with it probably if he misses out. But his audience, they won't, right? That's the problem. And then there's another group of people, and they are maybe not trying to time the bottom, but they just think that there will be no bottom in the first place. They think it will keep on going down. And they are flooding this whole area, right? They were buying here, right? And they're flooding here. I see it on this channel again as well. Like a lot of like, it's over, it's dead. Like, it's over, it's dead. Didn't work. It's over, it's dead. Didn't work. It's over, it's dead. Like, what are the odds, right? Of course, like, yeah, but this time the chart looks actually the same, and it went down a little less hard even. Why the fuck would it be dead right now? Like, then the chart would show it as well, right? It isn't. It isn't. And then you will probably get again, but that's what we need, right? Because at a certain point, liquidity really low, chart goes up very hard because there's just low liquidity. It takes not much to make it go up that hard. We are already sitting at 3-4x's. And then the sideliners be like, oh, it is a real rally. Okay, let me get in. And they FOMO in and they create that this pump, this FOMO pump, right? This was just a liquidity pump, a recovery, like there was low liquidity. And this was the FOMO pump. You don't want to cause the FOMO pump. You want to take profit at the FOMO pump. Disclaimer, again, I know I could be wrong about all of this. Of course. But then again, what's the risk and what's the reward, right? The people that were bullish or buying here, they did a great job. People were bullish buying here, they did a great job. And with great job, I mean, their whole bloodline never has to lay a finger on a fucking job again, right? And being bullish here makes so much more sense than being bullish anywhere after March 2021, actually. It's the best time in 4 years to be bullish on alts. It's weird, right? Because now if you're bullish, people are actually laughing at you. Like, why are you bullish? Why the fuck were you bullish here? Right? Come on. Look at this. So, again, yeah, if I look at things like the dominance, for example, could it be that it goes here somewhere? Hey, it could. It definitely could. I'm not saying that it can't, right? And it won't be that I will feel like I was so wrong if and when it gets here. I feel like I'm taking the best bet based on a lot of things that I've showed lately. But the Bitcoin dominance sitting at the 786, the dominance for Bitcoin, ETH, and stables, basically everything but alts, sitting at range highs, right? Well, according to Ben, range highs should go to the range lows. Well, in that case, that's an alt season. Based on the risk levels for the Bitcoin dominance, right? Again, 0.9 up to 0.1 risk. If when it comes to Bitcoin, you would have already sold the biggest part whenever it got there, right? Let alone being still bullish when it is there. Based on the fact that there is like no retail interest, and you don't want to buy when there's a lot of retail, because then you are just one of the typical guys that FOMOs in together with the rest of the world that's pumping our bags. No, you want to buy when there's nobody, right? That's how you do. That's how you make it, right? Based on all these things, could it be that they bleed a little bit more in the meantime? Yes, but that's something that you should be able to accept. Like, don't time the bottom, right? Don't ever try to do that, because you either will be very lucky or you get it wrong, right? You want to count on luck. I can feel like, you know what, it goes here, right? Or here maybe, right? Is that really, again, it's the same as here. Maybe, maybe not. Is that worth it to you, honestly? Even if you were buying here, at the end of the day, yeah, if you bought somewhere in the middle, you wrote it down, 44%. Terrible. It was over. It was bad. After a bear market, writing it down 44% fucking sucks. But if you were holding on, from that same point, you also wrote it up 200%. And then I feel like I am fine if I maybe take a temporary hit, because that prevents me at least from, you know, potentially missing out. So all in all, being bearish on alts right here, that is now the risky bet, right? That's the risky bet. It's not risky to be in alts at this point, right? It's always, but compared to not being in, I feel like, okay, so if you were not in here, right, you missed out, and you FOMO'd in back here and you lost your money. That's risky, right? So all in all, I would say, like, be able to take that hit in the meantime, if that happens, right? And maybe not, compared to the potential reward that's coming for it. That's worth it, right? So there's that. Just my opinion, like, do with it whatever you want, of course. And if you feel like, nah, I just need a 2x, so I'll be in Bitcoin, that's great. But if you just need a 2x, I assume that you are pretty wealthy and you are not on this channel. So for the most people, it goes probably that they are trying to create wealth a little bit more. Yeah, and then Bitcoin in this case for this cycle, right, is, I think, not gonna be enough. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the bell notification on. I'll see you next time.